Hello everyone, John here. Continuing on with the prehistoric skeleton theme that I've been doing the last few builds. And here's the next one. This is the Bandai Mosasaurus, the 1/32nd scale Imaginary Skeleton Mosasaurus. I don't know what they mean by imaginary skeleton, but okay, whatever. So, this is the Mosasaurus, which I have not built a Mosasaurus ever, so this is going to be interesting. So, let's get into unboxing this and see what this adventure is about. All right, so let's go ahead and unbox this here. Let's see what we've got. Now, the Bandai kits come with these clear plastic bands as opposed to shrink wrap. Not sure why they do that. I don't know if it's just a material saving thing or what. Let's look at, first I'll show you the box. Nothing on the back, of course. The side, it has one picture of it. Same thing on the other side. And a few more views of it here. I'm really kind of curious about this because I've not done anything with a Mosasaurus before, so I'm very curious. Let me get to the instructions first. So let's have a look at that here. So we have two booklets here. One of these is an educational piece on our Mosasaurus here in English and in Japanese, if I'm not mistaken. So here we go. I'm just going to get through this real quick. Come on. There we go. I have not read through this. So that's our informational booklet. Now let's look at our instructions. Here we have it. And let's see how this. So it folds out. Let's see here. Where does it start? I think. All right. So it starts with some information on how to pose it and how you can paint it here. And then it goes into, and I like it when they do this. It's got a map of the sprues, all the parts, which is good for parts inventory. Then it gets into the assembly. Looks like it's got a lot of parts to assemble. And I built a Tyrannosaurus, so it had a lot of parts too. So here we go. Here's our instructions. Let's put that aside for a moment. Okay. Put our instructions aside. So I'm not going to unbag these parts right now because there are a lot of parts. It's got a nice big base. I do like the base. A lot of, like there's an ammonite here, a few of them, and it's got a nicely detailed base. And it does have a clear plastic stand. Let's see if I can get you a little more light. Clear plastic stand here. So I'm not going to unbag these because I don't want to lose any parts. And I'm going to go through and clean them, and you'll see them during the assembly. But that is our Mosasaurus here. Get it all plugged. Now this says 15 plus. I'm guessing that's the age that they suggest, which, having built the Tyrannosaurus, that makes some sense. So here's our Mosasaurus kit, and I'm going to clean the parts, assemble it, and I think, unlike the Tyrannosaurus that I did, I'm going to assemble this and then paint it. I'm going to see how that works for us. So, next step, cleaning parts. Because a release agent is used in the mold making process, that release agent can sometimes stay on the parts and you need to clean it off. Otherwise, it could negatively impact your paint job. So my usual process has been to first go over it with Windex and then wipe it down with paper towels, and then go over it again with water, spray it down, wipe it down again, and then let it dry. And that usually, from what I've seen, gets rid of the release agent problem. The assembly on the Mosasaurus was actually fairly straightforward. Now, it does have a lot of parts, and there are a lot of steps in the instructions, but Bandai has done a good job with showing you exactly what you need to do when you need to do it and where you need to do it. So it was actually a pleasure to build. I started the paint job by using Mr. Hobby Oxide Red Surfacer 1000, and now I'm going to move to doing a base coat with Vallejo Model Color Pale Sand. So when I did this first coat, this base coat with the pale sand, I did it very, very thin, and it shows. The oxide red primer is very much showing through on the base and other places. So I want to do another base coat, but I want to build layers of color, and I want to do a variety of color because, you know, if you look at things in nature, they're not always the same color. In fact, they're not very uniform at all. So I'm going to build on that. So I'm going to do a mix of Vallejo pale brown and Vallejo cream white, mix those together. And again, I'm going to do a very, very thin, watered down base coat here, or secondary base coat. And we'll just see what it takes us. And sometimes, you know, you build up layers like this, and eventually you get to where you want to be. Sometimes you take some wrong turns along the way, but eventually you find your way. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to continue building up layers of color here. And I think what I'm going to use next is Vallejo Model Color Chocolate Brown and Vallejo Model Color Hull Red. So let's see what that does. So I'm going to do some dry brushing here, and I think I'm going to use a combination of the Vallejo Model Color Cream White, the Vallejo Model Color Pale Sand, Vallejo Model Air Light Rust, and Vallejo Model Color Pale Brown. So mostly on, you know, maybe a little bit of the brown, a little bit of the light rust, in a little bit of the pale and mostly pale sand and mostly the pale white. So that's where we're going next. We'll see how that turns out. I think after that I'll do a final dark wash over it, but we'll see where it goes. So the next thing I'm going to do is a dark wash to get into all those little crevices, and that might be all that I need left. So to do that, I'm using Vallejo Model Color Camouflage Black Brown, and I'm going to mix that with some Vallejo Mecha Weathering Light Rust. So let's see what that does. I'm pretty happy with how the washes went out. So the last thing that I think I'm going to do is the edge around the bases. And I'm going to come back to the Vallejo Model Color Chocolate Brown and the Vallejo Model Color Whole Red. The Bandai 1/32 scale Mosasaurus skeleton is done. And I'm pretty pleased with this. And I also just completed the Triceratops skeleton, and I've also done the Tyrannosaurus skeleton. So this was a good build. I will say that the parts went together well. The instructions were good. It wasn't super fragile. So yeah, definitely. I don't recommend a lot of kits, but this is one of those that I would recommend. So, yeah, I'm happy with the paint job, happy with the overall display. I think it came out really well. So, definitely a kit I'd recommend. Thanks for joining me. More adventures to come. Take care.